This video is brought to you by 3, bringing you 4G at no extra cost.
Hey guys, welcome to BTech. Basil here with an iPhone 6 and an HTC One M8. The iPhone 6, the latest flagship from Apple, has changed its design. It's now significantly thinner than its predecessor and gone are the super flat sides. Do you know who is a bit of ahead of the curve with those rounded sides? HTC. Well, they're not quite the same, but they definitely feel reminiscent when closing your eyes and just fondling the sides of both. We're going to talk about the designs, we're going to talk about the screens, we're going to talk about the performance, so fret not, but we're going to kick off by telling you how they feel in the hand. The HTC One M8 is a much heavier device. Both metal, both feel incredibly premium. The M8 is a little bit more slippery with that brushed metal finish. Its rounded sides do feel super rich though. The matte finish on the iPhone 6 just makes it that bit more grippy. Head on, it's also a taller device. You've got a 5-inch screen versus a 4.7-inch screen. This is the same size as its predecessor, the M7. What you do have on the M8 though are two of the best speakers on the block. Boom sound front-facing speakers really do make the world of difference when listening to content off your phone. They're also impossible to cover up, by contrast to the very, very easy to cover up iPhone 6 speaker. We're going to put the M8 down and talk you around the body of the iPhone to start off with, and you can see you've got a power button, nano SIM card slot, loudspeaker like we mentioned, and a lightning connector, not to mention a 3.5mm jack, volume buttons, and a quick toggle. Up at the top, no buttons whatsoever, and on the reverse, 8-megapixel rear-facing camera, True Tone LED flash, and NFC contact point, Apple insignia, and we've got the silver version. It's available in a space grey version as well. And not to mention gold, sorry. Bringing the HTC One M8 into frame, 5-inch display. Like we said, a bigger device all in all. We can put them side by side, front on, top on, and you can definitely see it's a thicker device, but thanks to that really nice ergonomic curve around the back of the HTC One M8, it feels rich and premium and sits very well in the hand. You've got on the right hand side micro SD card slot, I think it's micro SD card slot, and volume controls. You've also got a 3.5mm jack at the base, micro USB connector. Left hand side is that nano SIM card slot. On the top, you've got a power button which doubles up as an infrared blaster, and on the back is a 4.3 megapixel or ultra pixel camera. It's a duo camera, so there are some cool 3D effects you can have. Available in brushed metal or a matte version as well, and a dual flash just like with the iPhone, also an NFC contact point. So the user interfaces and the whole feels are very, very different, and both of the bodies really do lend themselves to their user interfaces. The HTC One is much, much longer, the body, and there's a lot of vertical scrolling. The iPhone is much, much more horizontal scrolling, and that really is accommodated for by the slightly rounded corners and sides of the glass. As far as those screens go, Full HD display versus a pixel density of 326, so that's 441 versus 326. Pulling closer into frame, that means that the iPhone 6 is not as sharp as the SLCD 3 panel on the HTC One. But you can see if we ramp up the brightness all the way on both do look very, very good and very, very bright. We might go so far as to say that the iPhone is a little bit brighter as it's throwing our camera right off, so that suggests it will also probably be a little bit better for outdoor viewability. Though if you like having your phones on max brightness, it might impact the battery. Moving on to the user interfaces, and it is Android versus iOS, age-old battle, and Android on HTC's devices has Sense skinned over the top. Sense is actually one of the smoothest Android experiences that we've seen, one of the only ones that really does counter the smoothness of the iPhone, competing head on. You've got to the left hand side something called Blink Feed. Blink Feed is an aggregator of social media content on top of all your news information from various outlets that you choose. You've also got 1 finger pull down for your notification bar, 2 finger pull down for your quick toggle bar, and you've also got your applications tray, which, like we said, unlike with the stock Android experience and the iPhone, is vertically scrolling, complementing that long body of the device very nicely. As far as the iPhone goes, you've got home screens. You've also got a pull down bar just like on Android. This time you've got notifications, and your widgets reside here to the left hand side. This is iOS 8, new update. If you pull down from the top, when you're in the applications tray, you can search your entire iPhone, and if you double tap your home button, you can multitask. If we were to double press without fully tapping, we can bring the whole user interface down a bit in order to access everything one-handed, including that notifications bar, as you see. what's more, long press the home button and you activate Siri, which means that iOS has become a lot more complicated than it used to be over the years, borrowing a lot from Android, but indeed Android has borrowed a lot from iOS. Which one is right for you will largely depend on a couple of things. It'll depend on how much money you have, which operating system you're invested in, and what other equipment you have. If you already have an iPhone, it's iPad, etc., then you'll probably know how iOS works pretty well. Though if you've got an Android tablet, it's much of the same core experience on the HTC One M8. A really nice element on the HTC One M8 is that it has a few cool functions. We mentioned that infrared blaster, so it's a TV remote control. You can also double tap to wake and swipe to wake. So HTC Sense versus iOS, we've already mentioned two very strong experiences. It's really going to be subjective which one you pick. As for what's on offer multimedia wise, the HTC One M8 has expandable memory and either 16 or 32 gig onboard memory. That means that you can get your own movies on here pretty easily, you can expand it pretty easily, and you're really well catered for recording full HD video from that 4 ultra pixel camera. The pictures taken on it are good. There are full manual controls, although they're not super high resolution. So anyone who wants to crop in a lot to their pictures may be left wanting with that duo camera. It does have a very color accurate flash, and that manual mode is perfect for anyone who wants to tinker. The 8 megapixel camera on the iPhone 6 from first impression is very good. Again, very accurate color, accurate flash. And on top of that, you do also have 240 frames per second slow-mo video shooting. Available with 16, 64 or 128 gigabytes of internal memory. We would recommend every single time either the 64 or the 128 gigabyte versions, because you're going to fill up the 16 gig version in no time flat. You're going to be paying a heavy premium therefore if you did want to opt for an iPhone over an HTC One M8, in spite of the fact certain elements like that screen sharpness, that speaker experience is going to be inferior to that of the HTC One M8. As far as connections go, it really is that IR blaster that differentiates it. 4G across all of them, it's Cat4 LTE. You've also got 3G naturally, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC, a new addition to the iPhone range. And generally battery life is also something that we're yet to compare explicitly. The iPhone 6 has an 1810 milliamp battery, whereas the HTC One has a 2600 milliamp battery. Despite the fact that number is so big, iOS is historically more efficient when it comes to processing power. This means you've got a dual core 1.4 gig A8 processor in here, by contrast to a quad core Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 processor with 2 gig of RAM. So that's going to place a lot more strain on the battery. We'll have to put them through their paces, and indeed other sites will have to do more rigorous battery tests than we can do before we can pull anything too conclusive. If you've had any experiences, fire them in the comments section below. And that really does wrap up our comparison between the iPhone 6 and the HTC One M8. Our favorite Android phone of 2014? Well, definitely maybe. And our favorite iPhone of all time? Definitely. If you've got any questions, again, shoot them in the comments section below. If you like the video, click that like button. And if you like BTech in general, click subscribe. That's how you're going to stay up to date with all of the latest coverage of both the HTC One M8 and the iPhone 6 Plus. Thanks for watching.